2, 1. What the fuck is up, dude?
What's up, man?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
The roast battles that you put on, I gotta come up with that up front, dude, because they are so much fun to attend.
Thank you.
Those things are so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best word to describe it is fun. I think, like, you know, I didn't create the roast battles by any means. It goes back in comedy a while, but to bring it to Albuquerque and to see what it's gone into, you know, but it is just a bunch of fun. It's a crazy show. It's always different. And, like, why not want to go see people talk shit to each other who are categorically funny? Like, They're good at it.
They should be.
Yeah, you're right. They should be. And when they're not, we save them as the judges or the crowd.
And the crowd wins either way. Like, I think, because, man, the one you just put on, that was number 4, number 5?
Oh, no, probably might be like 15.
Holy shit.
I started throwing them. The first one either 2019, yeah, like end of 2018, 2019, I was throwing them, and we started to have some momentum, but it wasn't too big. And then obviously the pandemic took a break. But yeah, like at Revel, probably number 7 or 8.
Okay, because I've been to like 3 of them, I think.
Okay,
I think I've been to like 3 of them, and I think there's only one time where one of the roasters kind of bombed. The crowd still won though.
Yeah,
because it's just fucking the misery isn't shared.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. And we could all just like enjoy it. And it takes a lot of balls to get up there, you know. Yeah. Honestly, the last time I did a roast battle, because I used to do them every event and throw the event. The last one I had, I bombed.
Oh yeah,
bombed bad. And it was the first time I'd really felt that for the roast battles. And I'd be down to get back up there, but I realized it kind of elevated at that event for me. It was like our second time doing Revel. And I went all in on promotion and really trying to get it because we had that was the first time we had like a stage like that. Okay. And to be in a room where we could really create a vibe. We had done one other kind of trial event, and I put so much in the last roast battle I had done. I kind of winged it a bit, and I did great. And I was like, oh, I'll just do that again. Like, I'm more funny when I'm just kind of going off the top, you know? And I was like, I was just putting in all the effort in throwing the event, and I went up there and it was just all like, no. And I think that was part of it too. It was like, oh yeah, like there are 200 plus people in this room right now. Like it's a lot easier to wing it when it was smaller, you know?
Right. Do you do stand up? Like, is that because you have your hand in a lot of different baskets? So is stand up a thing that you do, or is that just kind of something you put time to when a roast battle is coming up?
You know, I haven't done it in a while. I've done it like a handful of times. I had some good ones. I've had some bad ones. I don't think it's necessarily my particular skill set. Yeah. I think maybe the more I'd get, you know, if I was willing to put in those hours, like the way, you know, comedians do, that go to open mics, you got to keep on your craft. And I think, like you said, I'm kind of all over the place. And I've had I actually did my first run at one of Buck D's shows when he used to be back at Nexus. And he gave me the platform, and I had a good one. Then I got on a couple other shows. And man, it was a lot of fun, you know. I think I'd had some Tinder material, which is like now like the worst thing you could possibly do. But you know, I had some fun with it, and it was something like it's a love that I have. But you know, I can tell people who are really, really good at that, and I had some presence, but it's just not on that level. I think my skill set is kind of like videos, you know, comedy videos. I like roasting. My background kind of was I used to do rap battles.
Oh, wow.
And we used to be UBR in Albuquerque, and we threw rap battle scenes, and that's kind of like shaped my whole life because that's how I got into marketing. But I took that route in rap battles. I was doing the funny route. You know, like you don't look at me and I'm going to be like, I pulled out my gun and you know what I mean? Like that's just not what's going to work. Yeah. And even when I tried to be kind of serious, it was like, shut up, dude. And that's what led me to actually getting an opportunity. They were doing an event. It was like comedians against rap battlers at the Comedy Store in Hollywood.
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Podcast is now officially sponsored by the amazing people over at High Desert Relief, a premier herbal destination right here in the state of New Mexico. They have extremely well-trained and knowledgeable staff that are more than happy to help you find what you're looking for or try something that you maybe have never thought of. They have 2 locations here in Albuquerque, 1 in Santa Fe. All 3 will be listed right here and in the description of this episode. All 3 offering legendary products at absolutely legendary prices, including this awesome merch that they were so kind enough to gift me here. All of this can be found at all 3 of their locations. Again, big thank you to the guys over at HDR for supporting. Now back to the episode. Oh, wow.
So they have the roast battles there every Tuesday, and Jeff Ross hosts that. They bring people up. And so I got invited to do that. And,
how long ago was that?
That was before I started throwing them here. That was 2018. There, October 2018. And I went out there, and it was against another dude, and he bombed, man. And I had a couple good jokes. I tried to wing it on the last one too, and that one bombed. But I ended up winning the roast battle. And it was crazy just to be in there. It was in the belly room.
I was going to say, what was it like being at the Comedy Store, being able to perform there?
It was bigger than life almost. I walk in there and I'm like, looking at all the signatures on the wall, looking at the pictures, right? And the main room has a huge, eruption of the crowd. And it must have been the end of a set or whatever, right? And I'm about to walk in, and then boom, here comes this guy coming around the corner. He walks around the corner, and it's Joe Rogan. He had just been on stage, and he's walking out of the room, and we kind of oh, my bad. And I was like, I'm just like, what? And he's looking around, I got to get the fuck out of this hallway, is what he says. and he does, and I'm just kind of like, what? Because I just walked in there, damn, I'm going to get to perform here. It's my first time. And, there's legends in there. I remember I walked to the next room, Theo Von's on stage, kind of just going around. You're seeing faces that you're and it's just everyone's hanging out. Cool vibe. And then being upstairs in the belly room, man, it's an intimate setting. It's hilarious. Chappelle did one of his specials in there. I think when it was short, I can't remember the name of that one, but just to be in that room was mind blowing, and it was an eye-opening experience. It was something where I was damn, I'd love to go back. I knew I needed a lot of work on that piece, and also to be well, maybe I'll work on my material and I could get 5 minutes and, do that. And it's just not something I ever really stuck with, but.
Well, how did you end up getting invited in the first place?
It was because I took the comedy approach, in the rap battles, and we had connections. So we threw them out here in Albuquerque to UBR, but there was a rap battle scene in LA, courtesy of KOTD, which is a battle league out of Toronto that was sponsored by Drake. There's a whole subculture.
Holy shit.
And so I had done some Ground Zero, which was tryout battles for KOTD. So I'd done some in LA and in Seattle, and just done other small events in other places. And that was my approach, was just comedy, And so when we had a connection of a guy who's working at the Comedy Store who loved rap battles. And so he kind of opened this route up where it was let's do rap battlers against comedians in the roast battle format. And so I just got the opportunity. And that was just pretty crazy. And I will say, I was one of the only ones that won, but I was an opener. I was the opener of the night. I was the lowest tier, and the comedians destroyed all the other rap battlers.
Oh, yeah, they as expected.
Yeah, it was oh shit, this is embarrassing. And but it was so cool, man. And that's when I got back, and I wanted to go there and be on. You're on stage for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and I'm not getting paid to go do that. And as much as I would love to go do that, I can't afford to go out there every Tuesday or even every 6 months. But it was well, what if I just started throwing those events here? Because I helped throw the rap battle events in Albuquerque. That was I knew everything about book the venue, get the lineup. It was the same thing, just a different genre. Get them, it really was, and less drama. Dealing with local rappers mixed with dealing with comedians is a much easier experience. And so that was kind of just how it started. But, I would love now to go back or to even book one of those guys. Because, the room that we have, it's so much bigger than like the belly room. That's really intimate, but we're packing out a whole building, you know?
That would be fucking crazy if in the right before a rap battle, roast battle began. It's, as a special guest celebrity host, it's Jeff Ross. Like,
yeah, dude, that'd be crazy,
fuck?
dude, right? Like Tony Hinchcliffe or like Tony Hinchcliffe literally walked up at the end of my roast battle. He was like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I mean, Jeff Ross gave me the W. I was up against the dude who he was Hispanic on a plant-based diet, and I said, you grew up to be a vegan. Or I said, you only became a vegan because you grew up saying yo soy. And that one smacked. I can't even remember some of the other material, but yeah, well, I bombed right at the end when I tried to like wing it. Like I was trying to rebuttal.
Yeah.
And then Tony Hinchcliffe was just like, ew. But I was like, whatever, Tony Hinchcliffe was talking about me.
Yeah, that's funny.
I mean, it was just a funny experience, and just to be in there was an honor.
Yeah.
You know? I'll take that.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
And I probably talked about it too many times at this point where I've definitely got it from the comedians. They're like, yeah, we get it, dude.
Fuck it. I mean, fuck it. You went to the Comedy Store, you met some pretty cool people, you had a good experience. I talk about that shit too. That's fucking awesome.
Man. You know, and like another event like Blvd, man, he rocked that set. Like they loved him out there. And then another dude, Ronnie, from out here, who's like was the biggest like battle rapper out of Albuquerque and got a lot of opportunities as he grew. He beat Carter Deems in a battle at the Comedy Store, and now Carter Deems is on Wild and Out. He's like this like awkward dude.
Yeah, I've heard the name, but I couldn't put a face to it.
Yeah, so like we have some good roots. We made some impact in the subculture that is the degenerate culture that is battle rap. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how that impacted, and that shaped my life, like being involved in that, because it got me involved in comedy, writing songs. And then that's when I was like, I could do marketing. So I was working a job I didn't like, and I was like, wait, I'm learning graphic design, doing photography, throwing events. Like, am I not doing this already?
Right. No, that makes sense. So, and that's a question I have for a lot of both entertainers and like producers here is, how did you go about marketing the first rap battle here in Albuquerque, and how has that evolved? Because it seems like getting the word out about local shows, getting asses in seats, like it seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
You know, like for a lot of different, like there's levels to it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, like I've seen, like, so we're talking about Buck, I've seen him advertise shows and they get packed out, and then I've seen a couple where it's like not as much as expected. So it's like, how do you gauge marketing is working? And then let's start with the original question. How did you first start marketing the rap battles or roast battles here, and then how has that changed?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So I knew from doing the rap battles before, and I didn't start that. That's all Keith Valia Avenue, who brought the rap battles to Albuquerque. But for the roast battles, when I brought it, what I learned was, you know, you get matchups, and like if you just book friends against friends, like you're just gonna get that group of friends. You know, like I was like, I want to try to get as many people who are in different cliques, because that's another thing I see in other scenes, whether it's music scene, comedy. Like everyone clicks up, everyone has their group, and they go to that show, and then there's this, you know. So I'm just like, let me tap into every single one and bring them together. Like you create community that way. It's also a good marketing plan, but like,
right.
So that was kind of how I went for it. Was like, let's get people from different groups just to get involved and introduce it. And also like, I'm new to the scene, so this will help, you know, get me out there if I'm really kind of pulling from all the different venues, so on and so forth. And the hardest part was getting a venue. I did it at Red Velvet Underground. And I don't know if you ever went to that venue.
I've heard the name. I never went, but I'd heard of it.
Man, that place is crazy. Like I know, like they used to throw events, and I don't need to talk all that shit, but dude, carpet on the walls. It was like a thrift store too. It smelled like someone died there, and like, oh, it was just the weirdest little place. But we packed it out, and you know, we probably got almost like 100 people, and there's, I don't know, something like that. Like it felt packed because it was in there, and the quality of the roast battles.
100 people in your first go.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was able to pull a lot from the rap battle scene because I knew like pull some of these different people. I still had a little bit of that draw, and then pulling some just from different comedians. and just made it a big deal because it was like, this is the first ever thing. There is something about that when it's new, the novelty, you know, and you got to capitalize on that while it's new in people's hearts, because that doesn't last forever.
Did you ever think about having to combat, like, because that's the right way to look at it. It's like, okay, this is the first thing that's going to be continuing. But then there's the other point of view on that. It's like, yeah, okay, it's the first thing. It might not be that great. I'll catch you on your second, third, or fourth try. Was there any type of like negotiating that point of view too?
Yeah, I mean, there's
like
definitely people. Yeah, there's definitely like people who didn't go, you know, that were like, oh, I want to get it, like the next one. I didn't know what it was. They're like waiting to see footage and this and that. And I think there were a few after that, like we had some momentum, but they weren't as big after that. There was a little bit of a lull, like getting. Also, like, there were some people who embarrassed themselves in that first event. They were like, I'm never again. Right.
I was going to say, what was the quality of the comedy for the first one?
Not good. Like, maybe like one good battle, you know? And I won't even say any names.
No,
so
you don't have to.
There was some good ones. I lost to Kendra. A battle went up against Kendra Brand. We like, it was a neck and neck. But when I watch it back, I'm like, oof. Buck beat Danger. Danger tried to rap at him. It was real weird. There was, oh man, I can't remember it. There was, I shouldn't even be name dropping like that, but that's what happened. You know?
Funny as
there
shit.
Was, but yeah, Buck doesn't roast battle anymore. He hosts it. He kind of facilitates the whole evening, really. And
well, he gets to poke and prod and roast all night.
Oh man, he makes it like a next level show, you know. Yeah. And I'm so appreciative of Buck for that. But yeah, it started off that way, and then I can't remember if we did another one or the next one. I did like a roast of myself, which was kind of comical that I hosted a roast of myself, which was like, come on, dude. But we experienced some roast battles there, and then after that, we started going to Tractor. So we did Tractor Wells Park for a while, and that was 40, 50 people. I wasn't charging. I was just like, whoever has the best performance could get, like, it wasn't there yet. And that was kind of where it was kind of hitting a stalemate of just like the facilitation of the event. I think I was drinking a lot more. I was just like, I'm just here to party. We'll see what happens, dude, you know? And we probably did like 6 shows over there, 6 to 8. And they were kind of like, sometimes it was 80, sometimes it was 30 people. It was still a good show, but I didn't really look to take it to that next level yet. And I think that's what happens. I think the issue of throwing a show is you get stuck in the mediocrity of like what works, or just like, I'll just throw another show, or, you know, like, what do people want to see? You got to be asking. And that's all marketing is like, why do I give a fuck? Or why should you give a fuck?
Right.
Like, let me make this clear of, you know, when I've tried to do like a 2-on-2 that's interesting, or I'll throw in just like, I don't want to say gimmicks, but just something to be like, oh, that's a little different this time. And that, what also elevated it was, you know, having a bigger room was nice. But I think like making the matchups fit where like the comedians are excited to talk about it, where they're getting the opportunity to be like, this is a matchup I want. I could talk, I could make promotional videos. And also the same thing, I'm tapping into different friend groups. I'm trying, you know, there's a part where it's like, sometimes I can't get people to want to do it. Sometimes they have a rough go and they're like, give me a break.
Yeah.
But the next thing was just elevating the show, making it entertaining. I was like, all right, let me get a DJ. Like, there needs to be music and like stuff going on while there's the lulls, you know? Having good stand-up to open, having Buck really lean into being the host and getting to have fun with it. And then it's like, you create a community with that because people know that the whole thing is going to be fun. Like, going back to that word fun, is like, Buck makes it fun no matter what's happening. You have music on the in between. That's fun. Like, you can, and it's good music. Like, I don't have, you know, shout out DJ Uncle Native. He makes the show a lot more entertaining. And then having good stand-up comics, having the judges be consistent, because now you kind of form a relationship too. We can have some special guests, but you know, there's still been lulls. Another thing I would say with throwing shows is quality over quantity. You know, I know we all want to do the venues want to have that weekly show, or they want to have that monthly thing. But I think my sweet spot with the roast battles now, and if we had a shitload of comedians who wanted to do it, in a smaller room, I could do it more often. But now I'm trying to do it 3 months. Every 3 months, it keeps people motivated to do it. It makes people miss it.
Yeah.
And it's a quality show.
I was gonna say, like, you only have so many comedians, and this isn't talking down, this isn't a knock, but you only have so many comedians here that like you said, they're willing to do it and then have the skill to do it. It's like stand-up's already hard.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's the perfect mixture of, okay, how good of a writer are you? How well do you know your opponent? How much research are you able to do? How much do you know what to research? And then you have to be on the fly, and you have to work on you have to be able to work what's happening in the moment. And then it's such a weird tornado of skill.
And I will say what was really interesting too was that skill elevated when we got to Revel, because when we had smaller venues and smaller crowds, we could have quicker one-liner jokes. And you look like, and it was a lot easier. I gotta say, once it elevated and the level of skill with Revel, it was like, okay, here's a bigger crowd. Like, I need to captivate you with the story, basically. Yeah. Like, not too long, but like there's a clear narrative here, and performance. You know, and I think that's when it really was like, okay, either you got it or you don't. Because the people who were really good in the first events weren't as good
in front of a big crowd.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's been crazy to like the talent that's with it, and also seeing the people that like got really, really good at it. Trip Stelnicki is someone who like I've seen.
That dude's a fucking killer.
Yeah, and I've seen him like just get so good at those events, right? And then like someone new is like the dude Dave Corvette.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, and I saw him a year ago at One Liner Madness, and he hadn't really done stand-up yet, or he was just about to start, and I just saw him do one joke, and I was like, that dude would be really good for roasting. So I just went up, said, what's up? You down to try it? And he just had a knack for it. So the first one he did in the summer of last year, he killed it. And then just had him back, and he was hanging up there, you know, like he almost beat Trip.
Yeah.
And is a second.
Yeah.
And so it is crazy to start to like find people out there, but it is like a sense of storytelling and a stage presence that some people are built for that, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think scheduling it in that mindset of like, hey, I think the best part about it is you make people miss it. Because I remember we were talking at One Liner Madness. I was like, yeah, it's been a couple of months, I think. When's the next one going to come out? When's the next thing going to happen? And I think building the urgency for it, that fixes the problem of not having it. Because we're not a huge comedy scene yet. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not there to where it's like you could do a monthly show like that. I think we will be. I think give like 2 years or so. Provided that, you know, Dry Heat keeps its momentum, Casadas keeps its momentum, and if we ever do end up getting Hyenas and just more people just get into comedy, because generally speaking, I mean, of course, you'll have somebody like Trevor Noah or Kevin Hart come through, they'll always sell out. Like that's their household names, that's how it's going to be. But getting like the lower, like real, like comedy club level events going, it might take a little bit, but then stuff like what you're doing and what Dry Heat's doing, it's just going to get elevated like crazy. It's only going to gain momentum with time.
Right.
When you're going into marketing it now, how do you push it out? What strategies do you have? Because again, like it's like word of mouth is a big thing here in Albuquerque, but then also convincing people to go to a local show. Like I remember I think one of the last comedy shows I went to, I told my friend about it. I'm like, oh, where did you go see comedy? I let him know. I'm like, oh, yeah, we went to one comedy show here. It wasn't that great. And then I asked him, I was like, well, did you go to a comedy show or did you go to an open mic? Because there is a difference. Like, what did you go to? Like, oh, we don't know. I'm like, oh, well, that's a bigger issue than anything else. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So how are you marketing and how are you getting more people to talk about it?
Yeah, I think there's like, I kind of look at this the same thing with like work. It's like you look at the different channels and I try to be like, well, how many different ways can I get it in front of people's faces? And so, yeah, it's like the typical like, oh, post it on Instagram, right? And I've done it where it's taking clips and you make some quick videos. Or I've done skits. I did one with Johnny James where we're talking about it and had him as a special guest. So like there's great ways to do cross promotion. I encourage that. And I try not to ask the comedians to be like, can you make a funny video to promote this event? Sometimes if I'm like, all right, I don't know how this is going to go. If you guys could share it this week, that's cool. You know, but I try not to bug like that unless it's like that way. And I want people to participate. But because what I've learned is that instead of you like asking people to do it, it's more of set it by example. So what I do on my own pages, I'll do gimmick posts where I'm photoshopping where things you swipe and then you see you see the flyer. Or I've done skit. For this last event, I did some meta skit where I'm like trying to tell myself
I saw that.
about this, So I'll do that, and it kind of sets, I think, lead by example. If I'm going to ask you to promote the event, I better fucking promote it,
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so then, with that being said, I also have excellent partners in the situation. It's like I got Buck on the show, I got Zach on the show, I got Sarah on the show. Those are 3 audiences that help. Like those are huge people in the scene of just word of mouth, right? And like I try to make sure it's all win-win-win solution for everyone. But I don't really I just know that by having them involved is a huge asset and a huge strength of the
because they have their own pool, right?
And they have their own pool, and it gives it credibility too.
Yeah.
But then also having Revel as a partner, like I can get them to promote it. I can get them to promote it. I also use my Hold My Ticket account. Like people do look for events on there, and so making sure your events on Hold My Ticket, and then when I have sold tickets, like basically that platform does generate an email list for you. So anytime someone buys a ticket and they enter their email, you have that contact, and you have the ability to send out email blasts once a day on there without any charge. Now, if you wanted to send it more, and I don't encourage, do not do that. You will spam, no one wants a fucking email every day. I promise you don't. Be sparingly, for sure. But if someone's bought a ticket from you before, you have already it's way easier to maintain a customer than attain a new one, right? Nurture that. And I think, and you already know, they're interested. So they're all little things. I wouldn't say each one is oh, this is why everything worked for the event. You know what I mean? I just say that it's figure out the different ways you can drop this. I got a Facebook event. I got Revel sharing it. I have different comedians who can share. Also, having roast battles is nice because you have 12 people on the show, but it's not a 14-hour show, or something. It's not too long because it's battles or quick sets. So that's a huge asset. And I think, the big thing, and also shout out to Sarah, Dry Heat, Kelly, and other people that are, and Buck who does the Gong Show. It's make it an experience, not just oh, they go on the stage. It's these are Gong Show, One-Liner Madness, the obviously the Don't Tell events. There is that one where at Dry Heat they had them tape them to the wall. I don't know. There's just so many creative ideas, especially coming out of Dry Heat, how to make it a show. Yeah. And I encourage that because why? Again, it goes back to the thing, why do I give a fuck? Why do I care as a consumer? It's I could go to that comedy show. They'll stand on stage and tell jokes, or they'll go tell jokes over there. But no one else has this format. And it's something I going back to marketing as an idea is you got the magic or you got the commodity. The commodity is the thing that everyone else has that could sell it for a cheaper price, essentially, if we're going product. But if you're just doing a regular old show and everyone else is too, you're not setting yourself apart. Right.
And again, because we're not at that level of a comedy audience here in Albuquerque, you have to say a part like that. You're completely right, because I think a lot of people here in Albuquerque are still of the mindset oh yeah, I could go pay $15-20 or whatever to go see a regular stand-up show, or I could just stay home and watch it on Netflix, and there's no difference. Which, if you've been to live comedy, you know there's a huge difference. But if you're very casual or just non-consumer of the live aspect, you don't really
you don't have the same appreciation, right? And something that if you have an event where you took your group of friends and you're it's gonna be fun, and it's really fun, and everyone was damn, I had such a you've created something bigger. I think throwing events kind of alchemy. It is a form of witchcraft in a way. It's you don't, there's not even a tangible thing, but it's I got all of you to come into this room and to focus on this thing, and you're all gonna have a shared experience of that, and it's gonna affect your mood. And as woo-woo or whatever the fuck that sounds like throwing events, there is a spell to it. It is a magic in its own way. And to have something unique where people are I want that feeling again, and that's the only place I can go to get that feeling, that's a strength, and I think that goes across in any brand, any comedian, any show. And I don't know if I'm nerding out a little bit too much, but that is really I think that's what it is. It's with anyone. It's it's life, man. What makes you? What makes you different? Because that's also when it comes down to a price, or when you're trying to get paid for something, it's yes, someone can do this thing. We all can, whether it's marketing or I could do a comedy set, or I do custom body builds of a car. what's going to set you apart is that you have a unique process. There's like something that's like, yeah, you can go to someone else, but you're not going to get what I provide because only I do this. That is always going to be the strength. And that can just be as like you as a human being, business, show, anything. So like, that's what I think looking back at throwing an event, it's like, okay, well, like if you're just throwing a regular comedy event, that's just like an open mic at a brewery, like think of something to make that unique.
Right.
And I think that's going to do more for you than any Instagram post, any ad, any of those things. Like,
Because then you're tapping directly into word of mouth.
yeah, exactly. And that's always going to be the most powerful, honestly. Like, and you'll get people who become loyal for that thing. And you like, that is most of the work. That's the upfront work. You do that work up front, man. Like you kind of can take a set. Cause I got to say now marketing events, I don't have to do that much. Cause I know exactly like, announce it 2 months before or at least a month before. Like I always think like if you're promoting an event 2 weeks, you just launched it, like you're already fucked.
Yeah.
You're already fucked.
That's
unless,
a quick time crunch.
Yeah, it's unless you have some like event that everyone knows about, you know? And then it's like, okay, get the flyer out. If you could kind of have a second announcement or if you have any sort of video piece, then you try to get like the collective of people to talk about it, like get that word spread. Cause like if you get one person to bring one friend and that one friend brings one friend, you know, it's a spider web if you have a good amount of people involved with the show.
What was like the biggest hurdle? Because you've learned a lot of lessons, obviously. What is like the biggest hurdle you had to get over? Not just marketing roast battles, just in general. Like in your marketing career so far, what was like the biggest lesson you had to learn? The biggest like, oh shit, why that's so obvious? Why didn't I think of that? Or that type of stuff.
I think there's like two ways to answer this. For me, what my breakthrough was like know your worth and go for it. Cause I'm at Santa Fe Brewing, right? And I started as a marketing coordinator who had done other work, and I worked at an ad agency. I got trained by like brilliant minds, but I was still green. I was still new. And
What were you doing at the ad agency?
I was really helping the ad agency market themselves. I was doing PR and getting the owners or the leaders of the company booked to do speaking gigs and radio interviews, talk about their books. And then I got involved with some of the creative aspect. And I learned a lot there, but I think what really broke out is when I was at when I got to the brewery, was like I wanted to make funny videos because I was like, we can post photos of beer, but no one really gives a fuck.
Right.
Like
Right.
if I'm scrolling, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But like someone who shows me authentically who you are, like because people support brands that they see themselves in, flat out. That's marketing. Like you support the thing. You may not think it, but you buy the shit that relates to you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like any person out there, they don't have to believe in it, but it's happening. And so be the voice, be the mirror of the people you want to support. Luckily, the brand of Santa Fe Brewing is kind of exactly like me. Like I'm self-deprecating.
I was saying, in what way?
Like I'm I like meta humor. I'm self-deprecating. I take my work very seriously, but I do not take myself seriously. So like we have a quality product.
That's a good way to live.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we have quality product, but we can be ourselves. And we're not going to like be buttoned up and be like, we dry hopped this in the fucking fountain of youth. You know what I mean? And like that weird.
Well, that's like the biggest. That's like the biggest like drag on breweries right now. Anyway, is like, okay, yeah, you know how to make a beer. Or like the people that are like beer snobs, they go to breweries, they only drink brewery beer, and they only that. It's like, shut the. It's the very happy bread water that makes us drunk. Okay.
It's like the guys who ask when you're wearing a band shirt, like, which songs do you know? You know what I mean? It's those guys, you know? How many songs do you even know? So, like, I think the hurdle there for me was trusting in myself to be like, this is what I like. I actually I didn't get the approval totally to do it. I just went and made friends with the brewmaster. We were doing some stuff during the pandemic, like Q&A live, and we were both like, this is so boring. You know, and I found out about a skit that he really liked on the internet. It's Paul Rudd talking to himself on the Hot Ones interview. Have you ever seen his Hot Ones?
Oh, yeah.
They edit it to make himself look like he's talking. And so I was like, I just knew that he loved it. So I was like, let's remake that. Just you talking to yourself. Because I knew he'd say yes.
Right.
And so we did it, and it did well, and then we went for it. So I think it was like trusting myself and and going for something where you're like, be the authentic, you know, like and be true to the audience, because that's not going to work for everyone. Like comedy sits aren't going to work for a law firm unless you're Better Call Saul or that one dude from out here who actually leaned into it. I forget his name, but like Adam Oakley or something.
Oakley, Adam Oakley.
Yeah,
right?
he's like leaned into that. And then that was kind of like my break. But I think for marketing is like really like, are you really trying? I think like I got to a point where it was like it was working, but I was still like I was like drinking, hanging out. I really wasn't pushing myself. And I think when you can build yourself a strategy and you can really build a good plan, you get 90% out of the work out of the way, because then when you're making decisions and doing things on a day-to-day basis, you can ask yourself, does this align with that plan and the strategy? And if it doesn't, it's a quick like, okay, don't do it.
Well, something like marketing is so self-driven, and it's like it's not something you can kind of phone in and do unless you're working for a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 50 company that everyone already knows and trusts, and you can put out absolute shit and people will still buy it.
Right. It's crazy because like those agencies charge so much for that too.
Yeah,
and it happens, you know, because you kind of have the respect of the agency. But yeah, it's
like you have to have like a Bud Light level blender to really fuck things up.
Yeah,
if you're one of those companies, you know what I mean?
Seriously.
So
no, you really hit it on the head, like, and I appreciate that, because even running stuff like social media campaigns, and you could have other jobs or you could do other pieces. Like the thing about social media is that you got to hit every week, because then you don't, the algorithm is like, all right, bye. Like you will get less favoritism, like, and people forget quickly. We've had viral videos. I mean, I just checked, this one has 1.2 million right now, and I'm like, hell yeah. But I'm like, no one gives a shit about that right now though, because that happened. That already is done with. Like no one's watching it again. You know,
how would you? Because generally speaking, because again, the algorithm is so intangible and it's so weird to rope around, and unless again you're a big trusted name or partner, or celebrity, whatever, it's hard to, like, the most random things will go viral.
Yeah,
like there have been reels that I've put out. I was like, oh, that might do actually pretty well. That's a good reel. Okay, cool. And because only recently have I started thinking about like what would go viral, or what I've always been in the mind of what's gonna put my guest in the best light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then just the weirdest shit will go viral, and some, like, I had one go and go too crazy. It got like 90,000 views on Instagram, and it was the guest I had on. She was talking about, because she was working in a hospital and she had a mom and a kid come in. The kid was like 14. And they came in due to like heroin ODs, and the kid had said like, yeah, my mom gave me heroin at 14 for my birthday, so we had something to do together. And so that one went in the 90,000, but like half the reason, half the reason it did, I think, and then like 90% of the comment section was just shitting on me for being a bad host, apparently. So it was, yes, that was funny. And then I actually got a laugh at it, because that was what I would do, is I would scroll through all of them. Like I would like every single one of them, so they knew I was looking at it. And it pissed somebody off. It was like, he must be getting off on this because he's liking all of this. I need you to know you are not a good host or not a good person. I was like, oh, okay, well, you viewed the shit and you commented on it, so thank you. But then on the other hand, I just had one hit like 3 million, and it's me and my idiot friends laughing at a fake clip.
Wow.
And it's like, why did that get picked up when there's like not hundreds, but like dozens of others that I've put up, where I would argue are like better content in general,
right.
But is it...
Right.
Is it because of how dumb it is? Is it because there's multiple things on the screen? Is it because, like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Right. So yeah, that's a good point too.
You know what I mean? So like, I set all of that up to ask, like, generally speaking, what's your mindset when you're creating content or you're helping with marketing stuff, and like, what general social media tips, advice would you give to, like, hey, here's kind of, because again, I don't think anyone who says this is how you build your thing, this is how you can get 10,000 in a butt, I think that's all bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
I think it's complete and total fucking bullshit. So how, generally speaking, what has worked for you in the past, and what kind of nudges you in the right way? Because I don't think there is a true north when it comes to social media. I think true north changes all over the compass every day. So like, what helps you get in the ballpark?
I mean, first of all, super on point. It's anyone who's claiming to be a guru or anything, like, and maybe they do have a formula that works, it won't work in 6 months, because things change so quickly.
Well, what I think is fucking hilarious, kind of on that note, is the people that have hundreds of thousands of followers and you look at their actual engagement. Because I forget who was I watching. I think it was some ex like special forces guy that had I think it was like Tim Kennedy or some shit, and they were talking about social media engagement. He started getting shadow banned and stuff. And they were like, yeah, if you have 30% of your audience engaging or you're showing 30% engagement, that's stellar. Like that's phenomenal, because you don't know how many of your followers are like dead accounts or people that just don't really get on social media much anymore, if they're bots, if they're whatever it is. And that's removing the whole shadow banning thing. But what I think is hilarious is that, you know, people that have a shit ton of followers, hundreds of thousands, and they have like 100 likes, 50 likes, and it's like, oh, okay, are we buying?
Yeah, those are paid for sure.
Yeah,
those are paid followers. Like, unless like some there are some shadow banning for sure, like that can hurt you. But like at that point, you're still gonna get more than that if you're a huge page. So there is so much like fake. Yeah, people do it for the clout, and it's like, dude, it's so obvious. But whatever makes them sleep better, you know.
Yeah,
I think like brand. I'm someone who's super brand first. Like, what is your brand? Who are you? And like, who's watching your videos? And like, it doesn't always have to be on point, but it'd be like, would you represent this? Like, your brand is an extension of you. And also if people, or if it's even a character, people want to, you know, if you have a target audience, they align with that. And so if they want to support something that they align with, you know, you're going to give them more of those pieces. And I think telling that authentic story, giving them real looks at your life. But I think really where the shift has happened, because I would say 2 or 3 years ago, it'd be like comedy skits that are like formatted, where it'd be like top 5 ways to do this, or the 5 stages of this, or, you know, random shit like that, where it's like easy for someone to digest right away and be like, I want to see this. I relate to this. Oh, they get it. They understand that. I've seen someone just like that. I think more and more like people want less polished stuff. Like, I like to learn videography because it's a craft, and I think like doing that is great. But like, people want iPhone content. People want to see, you know, for the most part, like it's not always like that. I think also podcasting content, like, because it feels also like I think people get to see clips of things and they're like, well, if this is a clip from a podcast, it must be something good, because if they're showing this, it must have been a good soundbite. So I think there's formats that work for people. People build series. And I think like building a series, that's a hard thing to do. But if you just have like a weird thing where you go to every Chili's in America, you know what I mean? Like, that will somehow become something if you dedicate and continue to do it and make it entertaining. So I think those are the pieces. But yeah, people want more stuff that feels authentically caught in the moment. And I think like I almost try to do it in a meta way, not where I'm trying to like fake people out. But I think, you know, like people do fake pranks and all that kind of shit. And
a lot of those people are going to end up getting fucking shot or stabbed. Have you seen some more, like they go to the hood and they like yell something close to the N-word, or they go up to some guy who's obviously a gang member and they act like they're going to pull out a gun, or they do like a play on words about like blood or crip or fighting or shooting or something like that. And like, oh no, it's a prank. There's a camera. And
it's like all for the clout. It's so weird, man.
Good.
I know. And the people out there, you know, even like giving money to someone who's down bad, you know, or like, you know, giving money to a homeless person but filming it, that's fucking weird. And
it is strange.
It's a weird thing, because also like as much as I'm like weird about the people watching it, I'm also like, or like weird about people making it, there's also people watching that stuff, which is also like, ugh, that's weird. But
people like seeing the general, like, how do I put this? People enjoy, because you're talking about authenticity, right? And I think that is a direct response to because again, the short attention span and what social media has done to just fucking wreck our brains, right? Especially TikTok, that's never going to go away. But what's interesting to me, and I don't think we're going to know anything real about this in our lifetime, provided we're still around in another 100 years, I think they're going to look back on the social media age we're in right now and be like, okay, here's clearly where it split. Here's why it happened. And then I think one of the biggest, I forget what it's called, but it's like a subject that like a philosopher would ask themselves and they build upon, right? Is why is it that at the same period of time, You had TikTok, who the most viral videos go between 5 to 15, 20 seconds, or just as popular as 3-hour-long podcasts. Like, you saw that Rogan renewed his shit with Spotify, right? $250 million. I love Joe Rogan. Would I like to see some of that money go elsewhere on the platform? Maybe. But then that also speaks to, like, how much reach does he actually have?
Oh, yeah.
And, like, how many? Because they see the numbers.
I think
And
it's bigger.
like,
it's probably bigger than broadcast news.
anybody
It's got to be.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely is.
Like by a huge amount, and it's like broadcast news, radio.
But
all that
I would
shit's
just.
going down.
But now that new deal with him is going to like Apple and it's going to Google or no, they shut down Google Pods. It's going to Apple. It's going to YouTube again. I would just love to see, like, you know, they're asking, like they always ask Trump, show your tax returns. I would love to see the streaming numbers for Rogan.
Yeah.
I would just love to see it because, like, so anyway, my point bringing this up is how is it that polar opposites are skyrocketing in popularity at the same time? And I think it's because people want the authenticity you were saying earlier, and people want to see like actual human success, or people want to see people feel good. Right. And maybe that's because they feel good and they know how good that is, or because they feel like shit and they want to see that elsewhere anyway, right? They want to see that feeling good aspect of life anyway.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's so good. I'm just thinking about the authenticity part. I think that's what's so good about the roast battles is because, like, would it be awesome to get a big name in there? Of course. Like, if you said Jeff Ross, Brian Moses, Tony Hinchcliffe,
right?
I would shit a fucking chicken. Like, I would embarrass the fuck out of my girlfriend, like, because she knows I love comedy, but I would embarrass the fuck. I'm like, oh my god! Right. But you know, it's people still love seeing, and what I love about, like, because there's like, and I talked about this with Buck at both on and off the podcast about, like, how do you dress for a comedy show? What kind of professionals do you bring? What I love about a roast battle is there is no dress code. So you have people showing up in a costume, you have people showing up kind of nice, like they can show up looking like a regular dude, and there's that level of relatability. It's like, oh, well, maybe I could do that. He doesn't look super fancy. She doesn't look super, like, high, like, you know, high society or whatever. They don't look like they're not millionaires and they're still doing it. Well, what if I could do it? It's like that type of shit that you bring to your product where it helps connect to people. Like, and you hit the nail right on the head. Also, when you said that, you know, do you want to promote, like, would you use your own brand? Would you use your own product? Like, there's a famous thing about how Steve Jobs never let his kids use an iPad.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, not Steve Jobs. Tim Cook. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim Cook would never let his kids use an iPad because he knew, like, where that would go, and they know why they're making so much fucking money anyway.
Right.
So how media trends and social media, because I do want to talk film a little bit later, but media trends and social media, you're right, like the thing like the top 5, blah, 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 that's dead. And people do want to see more authentic shit, not underground, but more like, it's like, it's weird, like there's a demand for the high value or high production value, high budget stuff, and then there's like the iPhone phones like you were talking about. Like, it was fucking crazy. And so, how do you track stuff like that? I mean, I'd imagine a bit of your day with marketing is tracking trends.
Right.
What is going where? Like, how do you measure all this?
I mean, so you go through analytics on, like, paid ads or any, if you have a business page or a creator page, you can, like, see analytics. And I think, you know, it's harder to look at a smaller scale, and it can be easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, it's something that bothers me, but I lean into it. Like, as a creative person, I want to make super high quality stuff. Even, you know, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, he came out with he launched a creative agency last year where he's like, we are getting more and more satisfied with less quality stuff. Like, let's make better things, right? And I just thought that was a great mission, because it is like as much as I'm like, yeah, be authentic, be regular. There's also part of me that, like, hurts my soul, like, saying that. But it is like the psychology side of things is that people feel, I think there is a sense of, like, we feel like we've been lied to so much. We feel like marketing is constantly trying to sell us something we don't need.
Oh yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
look at anybody's fridge.
Yeah.
Look at anybody's, like, media center that they have.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's like our society, right? Yeah. Like, it's more and more and more, like, and that's kind of like leaning into it where I kind of try to take an abundance approach where I'm not selling you a false need. I'm, like, leaning into who you are and why this aligns. Like, I try to do that for my own ethos, but I think, like, people would rather see something that they relate to that wasn't trying to, like, fake this narrative to them and be like, oh yeah, like I relate to that. They're not trying to be fake. Like that could be my friend. I could be in this room. And I think that kind of goes to the same point with someone where it's like 3-hour long podcasts. It's like you like short content because it either feels like real life or it feels like you could have that conversation with someone, or wow, this actually showcased something that I would love to see, whether it's wholesome or
it's also a mental
toxic.
Like the short form stuff is also a mental vacation.
Yeah.
It's the doom scrolling shit.
Right, exactly. But then I think like same thing of long stuff is like long form you can learn a lot, but I think it feels like you're sitting in a conversation. I think that goes back to like you are the people you surround yourself with. And you could say if you listen to a podcast all the time and you're learning a lot of stuff, I could even say almost like what's that saying? Like you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. I could almost say if you're listening to someone that often and they are in the top 5 of your life, like you are embodying something of that in your life. And
it's hard not to. It's hard, right? Especially considering like you're listening to podcasts. A lot of the times you're either listening to it in a headphone or listening to it in your car. It's just surrounding your brain. It's surrounding that frequency. And especially if you're listening to it while you're doing an aerobic movement, like a heavy exercise, to where your brain kind of has to not turn off, but it goes into a rhythm, and so it's absorbing everything that's going on around it. And you're wearing like every headphone, every earbud now is noise canceling. So if you're listening to a podcast, like whatever they're talking about is almost flowing through your body.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of fucking voodoo-y, but it's that type of thing. So you're
alchemy.
But you're like cementing that into what you're doing.
Totally.
You're completely right. And go back to like what Donald Glover was saying about when you bring quality things. I think that you're like there is a need for higher quality stuff, but then also tailing back to the authenticity part of it. I think there's a lot of and quite frankly, things about myself was when I first started doing this. It's like, oh no, they mean what they're doing. They actually enjoy what they're doing. They're not trying to do it for clout. Not going to do it to make a shit ton of money, or like the intentions are pure. Like they're there. Yeah, maybe the skill needs to get better. Yeah, the this or that.
Right.
Or maybe it's like, oh yeah, they could actually be pretty good at this, or they are pretty good, like as a person, whatever content they're creating, they're actually good at this, but they just don't have money.
Yeah,
like they just don't have the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Like I talk about this all the time. I'm not ashamed of it. I wouldn't have any of this equipment if I didn't have help. Right. Like I got help from friends. Like it's just, and I'm thankful for that every single day. But I wouldn't have what I have right now if I didn't have the people around me. Right, whether it was my friends, it was my chick, like it just wouldn't be like I'd have the idea, but it certainly would have taken a lot longer. A, and then B, like I was having this conversation. Who the fuck was I talking about this about? I was talking about it with this guy named Pierce. He runs a newer podcast called the 505 Connection, and we were talking about marketing podcasts. Because I don't know a lot. I don't know dick about it, but what I was saying was like, yeah. Like you could have like there are podcasts that survive audio only. That definitely exists. But in today's I don't know, like the way you get your podcast knowing you get it out there, unless you're lucky enough to sign an early deal with like Amazon, because Amazon has a lot of audio only stuff that's exclusive to them, or if you have a certain niche that you just imagine or you manage to explode in, like one that comes to mind is a Morbid. You ever heard of them? They're a true crime podcast. It's like, I think it's 2 friends or 2 sisters. Like one of them's like a mortician and the other one is like a CSI person.
That's a good combo.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, they talk about like serial killers and like mass murders that have happened. They talk about like the Donner Party from the 1800s and shit like that. It's really cool, but they're audio only. But I find them as like, okay, they're living off of word of mouth, and one is a published author, so that helps. But they're surviving off word of mouth alone. And Spotify helping them out, like because they always get recommended before I even started listening to them. But if you're really trying to like promote yourself as a creator and then promote your product, you could have the best voice, you could have the best conversational skills, you could have some of the best guests. You'll get bumped if you get crazy people like the fucking Rock or Kevin Hart or fucking Trump or whatever, right? But if you don't have the video element, it's tough to market stuff like that. And unfortunately, I mean, yeah, you could do it with an iPhone. Like you could do a lot of podcasting things with a short amount of money, but you still need a couple $100. Yeah, like, that's just the fact of the matter. What it is, yeah, that's just the fact of the matter. And that's not because I always encourage people that ask me like, how do I start a podcast show? I'm like, yeah, do it. All you need, if you don't want to spend any money, all you need is your iPhone.
That's all you need. Your iPhone and internet connection. And then if you want to spend a little bit of money and you have a laptop, go get a $70, $80 Yeti microphone,
Right.
plug that bitch in and see what happens. But again, like there are some barriers to entry that like would elevate people that don't have it already, and they just kind of just separate people from others.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it makes a huge difference. And I think you said, I think people, because I encourage people just to go for it. I think also probably a lot of times, I mean, it's become saturated, but anything is a lot of times people fail because they just stop.
yeah,
You know?
well,
You
that's the guaranteed way to fail is to stop. That is
Right.
the guaranteed
Yeah,
way.
yeah, exactly. But I think there is a sense of a journey of if you're really bought into the story, because I know like I kind of have a weird. I'm not really like a guy who's like on YouTube watching much YouTube, but I have like this random guilty pleasure fucking watching this dude like bushcrafting, like. And he's like living in northern New Mexico right now. He's like a young kid who's just like fucking around, and the production quality is garbage, but like I love it because it's so real. And he's like asking, he's like, well, what could I do to make this better? And then like he has like a camera, like he's elevating, and I'm like, what is this gonna look like in 2 years?
Yeah,
Could be really good.
again, that's you want to see people succeed.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like interested to be like, and I was there when he was doing this all on his phone, like doesn't know, you know. And and it's cool. He's like asking like, what would be the better way to build this? And then he gets the YouTube, like he's going viral now, and it's like he gets answers and he tries it, and it's like, oh, I'm invested, you know.
Yeah.
So I think like it's part of the storyline too,
that's
the hero's journey, right?
That's like the exact reason. I mean, there's other like auxiliary stuff, of course, but that's like the exact core reason. Like why the Nelk Boys are so big.
Yeah.
Because they started out doing like the prank videos, they started out doing like the content funny acts, and now that they've like matured, they're getting older, they have crazy production value, they're connected to people like Dana White and Trump and all these people.
Right.
You know, there's fans that have been fans of them for like 10 years, and then there's people like me. Like I didn't know that, as I had seen their prank stuff when I was a lot younger, but I didn't know that was them. But I just saw like the Full Send stuff. I'm like, oh, these guys are actually. This Kyle dude's actually not a bad interviewer. Like, that's not too bad. They're a little goofy, but then they've gotten so much better the more time they dedicate to it. And then, like, their vlogs are fucking insane. Like, they went to Russia to go train with or go kick it with the UFC fighters out there. And, like, they're literally just running up and down icy mountains.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? But
Yeah.
seeing that type of stuff, and, like, the authenticity, the relatability, yeah, they're super fucking rich, and they can go party and this and that. But at the end of the day, they're just having fun. No
Yeah,
matter
and
who or what.
they've stayed true, right?
Exactly.
And I think that even goes back as like when you really start, I think you can have no budget and it can work if you know what is your unique thing, what makes you different, what is
your perspective.
Yeah, your perspective, right? And like, and what could be the format or what are the things you're talking about? Like, there's even like podcasts that aren't even podcasts that I like. They're like satire, bullshitting, being like, you know, it's better than cold showers, like hot showers. They're like, burn yourself, like, and then they're like talking about fake biohacking benefits of hot showers, and I'm like, this is hilarious. And I just spent 10 minutes watching this, and it's just complete satire. You know, it's like, how do you stand out in a saturated crowd? And it's like, be yourself, have that perspective, and think differently of like what kind of format would I want to do, or who am I going to talk about, or what could be the unique. It's like a value add. I think also people want to walk away from a podcast, even if it's like that they learn something or that they took on a new perspective or they have a new like thing that they can share with someone.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like you walk away with something. And I think as long as you're providing value and know who you're wanting to talk to, or just, I think it goes back to like Rick Rubin talks about a lot. And especially
The audience comes last.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you as the artist, you as the person, trust yourself to like, you wouldn't put it out unless you thought it was good, and trust your own taste, and that like the audience will come.
That's the thing too, is like, we're talking about your unique perspective and stuff, but humans aren't that unique.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right,
we're not that different from one another. So if you're into something, chances are a lot of other people are. Like, for instance, like before we started shooting, you're looking at the comics behind you. You're like, oh, my buddy would be going crazy right now.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, they're maybe not your thing, but if your buddy watches the pod, I'll bet half the time he's looking behind you trying to pick out like what's behind you and like who wrote what and what book is that. Because I'm like that. That's half the fun for me of watching video podcasts, like a new one anyway, is like the set design, like what's around the people, what's that personality, what's that like. obviously I'm very biased, but like the people who do podcasts, they're becoming like a cousin to the man cave. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
how do you design your studio?
Totally.
How do you like, what does it say about you? That type of shit. Because
Right.
obviously I didn't go for like what is going to make the studio look the best. By like generalizing, right? Oh, I'm going to put the potted plant here, and I'm going to have I did have LED lights in the older studio, but that's just because there was like no light in that place anyway.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'll have the red here and the green here, and I'm going to have the, like, I remember one of my buddies, and it was a good idea. Frankly, it was a good idea. He was like, hey, you should really go get like a, that's almost, I don't give a fuck about it. What's our soccer team again?
United.
Thank you. So he's like, you should get like a United flag behind you because if your clip goes viral, people see it's from New Mexico, you build a New Mexico audience. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And it took me like 30 seconds when I was looking for a good United. I was like, I don't give a fuck about soccer. And I'm like 99% sure that I've talked shit enough about soccer on here that if someone who's been watching suddenly finds a flag, like,
those are your diehard fans.
yeah, it's like, I thought you didn't like soccer. You know what I mean? I respect it.
Right.
I respect the shit out of it. That is cardiovascular endurance. That is bananas. I also don't care.
Yeah, it's not your interest, and it's like, what, be true to you, because that's why
Exactly.
people are watching, because they are interested.
So I try to make the shit that I like look good on camera, and I just love the design of it and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's just.
I think you're staying on brand though. I think that's what's up. Like,
doing my
represent
best.
who. Yeah,
do my best.
Be you.
And it's just funny because we're talking a little bit earlier about like what makes you unique and what brings that forward. Because like podcasting itself, yeah, you can have like the one-on-one format. You can have the solo. I think the person that does the best solo podcast, period, is Bill Burr. Like that dude's Monday morning shit. I don't listen to it too much anymore, but he just has that muscle in his brain where he can just rant and riff, and it's most of the time it's just him, or maybe it's him and his producer, and he's just talking shit for an hour.
Yeah.
And that's just absolutely crazy. I don't have that muscle. I did one solo episode. I was like, nope, never again. Nope, that was an hour of pain because I hate riffing off myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then like there's like the one-on-one format or like the table format. There's like the lounge format that like Andrew Schultz does on Flagrant.
Right.
That type of shit. There's like the desk format that Tim Dillon does or Theo Vaughn used to do. There's a million ways to do it, but I think there's the obvious element if you have to keep going, you don't quit, right? We've already covered that. But then it's also, and maybe this is a little bit of bias, a little bit of cope on my end, but I think it's you become unique, or the host becomes unique doing it by exposing yourself to new ideas and new people, obviously. But then there's like a lot of, you can't just like turn the camera on and do it. Like if you're gonna, like, for one, you have to expand your vernacular. Like you can't just be saying the same thing over and over again. You have to take it upon yourself to go learn new things. You have to take it upon yourself to actually go out. Like the number one thing that has helped me in this podcast, outside of listening to other podcasts, is reading. Reading. Like, I love comic books, obviously. Like, that's how I learned to read. And I'm never going to stop doing that. But there was literally up until, like, 2 years ago, I wasn't that big of a traditional reader. Like, I would read horror here and there, but I just never really, it wasn't as fun to me. I was like, I could read a book and imagine things, or I could either A, watch the movie or TV adaptation, or I could those have pictures in them. You know, that's like where my childish brain went to. But actually sitting down and reading, whether it's like books or just articles, or really just getting involved in not just like current events, but like I've become a big history person over the last like 5 or 6 years. Like learning stuff about that, like just intaking information and storing it, and really not just for the sake of reading things, but things I actually care about. Right. And then finding, and that mixed with expanding your vocabulary, those two come together, and then you find ways to take a conversation you might not have been able to. Like, you know, in the first couple of episodes, the first years of doing it, like there were a lot of people there were a couple of people I wanted on the podcast in the beginning. I'm glad I didn't. Very glad I didn't. Because I would have fucked that up so hard. Just because, not for lack of trying, but just inexperience. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, there's one I did. God bless her. It was a family psychologist that I had on. She was phenomenal. Very well spoken. She did the best with what she had at the time with that podcast, but I gave her nothing. And I was just asking dumb questions and very surface level shit, and I didn't really know how to like pick apart sentences. And if you're listening, I know you're not, but if you're listening, I'm sorry. Like, it was bad. Very, very great.
Yeah.
Very great person, though. So I think that's a lot of it is like taking the time to do the work outside of this to help build yourself as a person. And even if your podcast doesn't fucking go anywhere,
Who cares?
who cares? You're
Do it for
still,
you.
you do it for you. But even if you stop doing it one day, you have a lot of knowledge now.
Yeah.
It's like this weird,
Right.
it's this weird secondhand education.
That is,
And
yeah, that's
it's-
true. I mean, right? That's like why people get into it. And I think, and it's like, not only, probably like with your show, people who watch, they not only get to feel like they're learning from different perspectives, but they like how you dig into things, right? They're like, I think that's like why people like certain art, like, oh, I really like the questions that they're asking and the space that they're providing and getting weird or putting them on the spot and really getting maybe a response that I would never have seen anywhere else, right? Like, but people find different ways to connect. Like, it's all, I think, what is, and like you said, I think what's cool is you can develop that brand or like figure out what people like by doing it, right? Like the more you do stuff, you're like, oh, I really actually, the show will continue to evolve. The more and more you do the show, the more and more it's going to evolve into the thing that you really love, and that's intersecting with what people who watch it really love.
Exactly. And I would say right now, the only complaint I have with my podcast is it honestly is the name, just because it tells you nothing about what it's about. It tells you nothing about what the podcast is. It's just a funny looking logo.
Yeah.
And that's because I didn't plan on this to go anywhere. I didn't plan on this to be, I thought it was going to last like 6 months. I'm like, oh, that was fun. I did a podcast. You know what I mean? Like a million other people during the pandemic, right? They did like the first 10 episodes, fizzled out, whatever. But as I started going, I was like, oh, this is going to be a thing. I'm going to stick to my guns because it's a catchy thing because it looks like fucking OnlyFans.
Right.
But what I'm very happy about is that people don't give a shit about the name, and from what I've seen, they mostly just go straight to like, okay, who have you had on?
Right.
That's what matters. And then mix that with the fact that there are local New Mexico podcasts, but I'm not saying this to boast, but I don't know of a local podcast since the pandemic that has focused exclusively on guests. You know what I mean? Like the BS show, Buck and Six. I fucking love those guys. That was, I think, as far as guest podcasts go, I think that was the most fun I had. Was on their show. That was. Have you been on the BS show?
No, I haven't,
Dude.
I've been back on an old one of Bucks back in the day. But yeah, I mean, shout out to them. They're just doing their 200th episode.
Yeah,
right?
that was really cool to watch too.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And I've told both of those guys, doing a live podcast scares the fuck out of me. That is because I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Like I love doing like stand up, but as far as like having like a cool guest and conversation, but then interact with the audience and come back to here, and then that's just not my mental whatever. In the same way that like, my buddy Joey that you met downstairs, he does the podcast with me a lot, and then whenever we do live ones, he'll sit there and he'll produce and help the live stream and all that shit. I love the guy to death. A lot of other friends that have come on the podcast very regularly here. I couldn't do a weekly show with them. That's just not how my brain works. I need new. I need like I can have I've had recurring guests, but like it's hard for me to like keep that in because I see these guys on a regular basis. I talk to them on a regular basis, and it's you know what I'm trying to say,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's kind of probably reflects too of like what people listen to you for. They're like, who is he talking to this time?
Yeah.
You know, like I think like probably it's the same thing. Like I'm like on the outside where I'm like, it's probably because like that's the same thing, the reflection of the brand. It's like if you trust yourself to feel that way, it's probably your viewers and listeners that feel the same way too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like trust your gut on that. And it's like, yeah, I think it goes back to the same thing of like wanting to walk away with a value add. I would say, you know, just go for it. And like, I mean, I write songs and I'm in a band and I don't do it because I'm like, we're going to make it. We're going to make the bet. Like we're going to, you know, be on the charts and all this stuff. I mean, cool. That'd be great. But
Yeah.
the second I stopped even thinking about that kind of stuff and just being like, I just love writing songs. I literally, the best high in life is like performing those songs on stage with a crowd. The actual people there. You know what I mean? We've all been there, but we've had a lot of good ones. But in general, just practicing like and getting to sing like and being like, this is our song. We created this from scratch, you know?
Yeah.
And I do that strictly for the sake of doing it. And it was crazy that at that point when I dropped all expectations and was like, I'm just going to do this because I really enjoy it.
I was gonna say, do you remember the first time you felt that when like in the sense of you and the band, you had the concept for a song, you create it or you write it, both lyrically, instrumentally. You put it all together, and then not only do you like you put it out on a streaming service, but you play for it in a crowd, and it hits. It's received well. Do you remember that first time that process saw its way through, and then it's like, oh, wait, that's what I was searching for.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because they're like little wins along the way. How it really started was like with the homies growing up and messing around. But like the first time I got to perform it was like the group Suede School. Shout out January Black. That's like my godfather right there. He showed me a lot about like being in the studio and how to finish a song. And then we came together and was like, oh, this third mind, this like where we both had the same ethos, and we were both like, this is who Suede School is, and this is how we write. And then we were able to be in the room and write these songs together, almost like, because I truly believe creativity happens to you. Like you don't think like you're like, I'm gonna think of something really good right now.
Time to create,
bro. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's a feeling. Like I do think we're vessels for things.
The shower and the shitter.
Yeah,
the two places I come up with all my comedy.
Yeah,
and I fucking hate it because my phone is almost never in reach. Like I will literally get out of the shower, I poke my head and my arm out, and just do like one of those numbers on the wall or on my towel, and like, okay, the Jewish people don't control the weather because back to shower.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
yes, yeah, like. And I've gotten better at where I have to like write things down, but it's like crazy to be in a studio, because my methodology is I don't write any songs. I like will find the melody or the pattern or the cadence, and then I will keep listening to it on loop until I memorize it so I can deliver it that way. Because when I write it, it feels too structured and like in a box, and I also don't. Because I'll freestyle too. I'll go into, and I'm not just like rap. Like I don't really rap anymore. It's just like singing, trying to sing, right? And but that stuff will happen to me where I just like let it go. And there's parts of those songs people will never know, but I'm like, that is completely off the top of the head.
Well, that makes perfect sense why you wanted to do your comedy your same way. That's just how your brain works. I mean, that's Buck is that way. I know that. Josh is pretty good at that. Zach is pretty good at that, where they can.
Josh and Buck are on another level. I can't like I'm pretty good and I can do something like that's like another thing.
I bring them up because they've specifically said like, I'll write things out, but a lot like they write on stage. It's those type of comics where they can write on stage. And Buck, I remember I was doing him some writing. He's like, honestly, dude, I don't write out most of my shit. I just have an idea. I think why it's funny and like where I want to get, but I just get up there and figure it out.
And then people feel that because it's real, right? And so to kind of get back of like, we wrote those songs and then we put out the first project, and I never truly like put out work like that where like January had. And we had a music video that like did really well. Then we got booked to do a show, and it got really good feedback.
Where's the show at?
The first one was Launchpad, and then we had a couple other smaller ones.
That's a hell of a stage, Launchpad. I've been on it for a collective 5 minutes during One Liner Madness.
Yeah.
But there was a moment when I was up there, and I finished my joke or whatever, and my opponent was doing her joke, but I was like looking out into the crowd, and I was like, "Yo, this is actually really cool."
Yeah.
What the? This is a sold out crowd. This is a sold out crowd. I did a joke, and I think like 60% of them laughed at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Oh, man. It's huge, man. And to have that moment, like it is an adrenaline to be up to singing the songs, right? And so we kind of built it, but we dropped this project. We were getting some love locally, like nothing huge, nothing life-changing, but like, we were cemented in the scene. We were this brand like little
That's
group.
how it starts.
And we got booked on this show, and we did the song The Source. That wasn't even our biggest song. But it drops in, and we do the hook, and we're like, and the crowd is chanting it back at us.
And
I was like,
crazy.
What the like, dude? I was like, almost forgot the words because I was like, what the fuck? And like, that moment was when I was like, holy,
this is the thing,
shit, dude! Like that rush, and I was like, amped up after that. I was like, oh fuck, dude, this is so tight. You know what I mean? Like that was the coolest thing ever, to have people sing your song that you wrote back at you.
I couldn't even imagine.
and like I'm already like, I get hype on stage, you know, I jump around, and like, so the same thing, our band Rip Williams, we just rocked at Launchpad, and there's some new songs, and like I write now a lot about like my actual life now, just kind of channeled through it. And people singing those songs back at us. We have one song that's like, 50,000 listens on Spotify.
Look at
and
that.
you know,
That's
it's like,
fucking good,
I mean, it's
dude.
like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? And people know that song. And I wrote that about a girl That was like my real life. Like I didn't fake anything. I was like, and half of that song's freestyle. And it is on playlists and weird shit, but people sing it back. And it's like, every time it's rewarding. I could see how bigger artists, like at a certain point you have a hit and you're like, I fucking hate this song. But I also don't, I'm like, I don't see how, if it hit like that all the time, you could see the pure joy in people being like, oh, like, I'm like nothing. And like people are hyped on those songs and you start playing it and you see people be all like, oh shit, I know this song. I'm like, dude, that is a sick feeling.
Whenever I see like an interview like that where there's an artist is getting asked or band's getting asked about like, your songs hit the top, but how do you feel? Like, well, I actually kind of hate that song. It's like, okay, you might dislike it, but you love the results and stop acting like you hate. There's no way. I don't see any possible way you hate the song. Exactly. It's just like, I don't see any possible way you hate the song, especially after what it's done. And then also, if you hate it, why'd you put it out?
Yeah, it's like I get like record labels have like that piece, but like you guys had to record that.
Yeah.
You had to write it down and like make it happen. I guess there's sometimes writers and stuff like that. But yeah, like that is a weird old man energy kind of thing, or like these young kids don't like, I don't know that energy. And I guess I've never lived through it, so it's hard for me to relate. But I think like I love that about like Shaq. He says that in an interview where he's like, my dad taught me like if someone paid to give like be there for the show, you give them a fucking show, you know? And he'll like same thing. If like people are out there, they love that song, you'd be like, oh God, I gotta perform this song that made me millions of dollars.
Well, what's funny is the best way I've heard that put it, like especially like the hard-earned dollars to go see something, is just the idea of money in general. I heard that the best way I've heard it put honestly is by Andrew Tate. Is he was talking about it and he goes, money is people's time and service on a paper thing. That's what that is. So if they're taking that, or first of all, it's what people are chasing, they're driving their worth from. What does that really mean? A, and then B, and then how does it save you time, right? A, and then B, if they're spending that, you know, that's what I extrapolated out of it is like if they're taking that, if this is because I get paid more or less like $21 an hour or so, like 21, 22 ish, I think is how the math shakes out. So that means that if I take a $20 bill and I go buy dinner either for myself or for someone else or whatever, that means I effectively spent an hour of my life at work so that I could get this whatever. That's what that transfer means. Mm-hmm. So then if you're doing a show and it's a $20 cover, that means they did whatever job they're doing, whether they're sitting in an office or they're working on a construction site. They get paid $20 an hour. That means that for an hour they did their job so that they could turn around and see you do yours. You better do it fucking well.
Right.
And even if you suck at it, even if you have an opportunity, and this is me currently, even if you have an opportunity where you may or may not deserve it, act like you do and just try your best.
Right.
Because I think people, especially in the live entertainment format, obviously they want a good show and they want to be entertained. But they would rather see somebody fall flat on their face and they act like they don't want to be there. They would rather not see that. They would rather see somebody like fall on their face, but they love what they're doing. They're happy to be there because that's still infectious.
Yeah,
like I've seen.
Oh, dude, comics. There's a dude I saw a clip recently. He's like does a joke. He's just like, I am bombing right now. Yeah, and they're like reacting, and then he just leans into it.
Yeah,
he like, and it's just, and it actually gets the crowd back by him just being completely like, whatever. Like, and he's like, this is bad. The dude in the back is like, can we get the fuck out of here? You know, and then like, you feel it. And it's like, wow, like leaning into it, right? Rather than like, just get small.
It's cringy, especially with comedy. It's cringy watching people bomb. And then, because like, I'm biased. Like, I've gotten numb to bombing. Like, watching other people bomb, I've gotten pretty numb to that. And I've gotten numb to myself bombing pretty quickly too, which I'm very thankful for. I'm very thankful for that. But it becomes cringy when you're watching somebody bomb and they're like mad at the audience that they're bombing.
Right.
It's like, I guarantee you, we did not gather before you got up and said, hey, we're going to like send telepathic waves to this guy's brain and just make him the most unlikable, racist, bigoted, no fucking thought in his brain type of guy. We're just going to like Professor X you to failure.
Right.
This is you, dude. Just own up to it and walk away.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, I don't know.
No, I agree. Like, you got to own it up there, and it's like lean into it. If there's a weird audience, like I think it's cool too how like comedians will gauge their audience. Like, let me drop this one crazy joke in the beginning of the show, so I can just test to see what they're like. Can they deal with it? They couldn't take it. All right, it's also like, this is gonna be a rough show. But
well, I was learning that because I went to a mic last night. You ever been to a place called Z Lounge?
Is that at the hotel?
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet.
Dude, it's a cool little place.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a speakeasy style thing. A false door opens and you walk in. It ain't the cheapest place around, but it's kind of cool. And they're holding a mic there last night, and I'm trying, because fucking crowd work terrifies me. That scares the shit out of me because I've learned about myself as I've grown into my 20s that I'm not a control freak, but I prefer to have major influence of what's going on in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially if it's something so free forming like comedy, I know what I practiced. I know what I have. This may or may not work, but at least I know where it's going.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then because I remember I did a show a while back and I bombed fucking hard. And this guy that was literally in front row at the brewery I was at was giving, I forget what the topic was. I think it was about Trump or some shit. And he was just giving me, it's like layups that if I had just a little bit more skill, I could just dunk. But I was bombing fucking hard. Anyway, so last night, the place is pretty cool spot. I'm watching the mic happen. I went on last because I showed up late, and I was looking around, okay, well, I'm going to try like crowd work. I'm going to try like commenting on like what's going on around us, commenting on the crowd, like what I can observe in the style of the bar, and then be a little pushy with that just to see, like, to gauge the audience, like, can they handle like a sex joke? Can they handle dark humor? Are they into that type of shit? And thankfully they were. Lost them at my Jew bit, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But it's fun to experiment like that. And when you're built, this is something I'm always curious about with musicians. When you have a show and you're curating a set list, what's the thought process behind that? And then do you tailor your set list to the venue you're at? Like, what's the...
Yeah, there definitely is. It's funny you bring that up too. Yeah, definitely, like, people, building like your last song usually should be either like your biggest hit or at least maybe your biggest current hit, or, if you're kind of low key, it doesn't matter as much. If you want to go out on a high note, always. Yeah. You want to start off and get people's attention. I mean, that's just kind of psychology. Like, people remember the first thing, people remember the last thing. And so that's always something good to know, right? But this last one we just did at Launchpad, we were actually opening up the show. And so there was one feeling, we were opening up for Reviva, and there was one other band.
Oh, nice.
And Reviva's sick, man. And
I've heard amazing things about those guys.
And I was listening to them when I was like, 10 years ago, even longer, actually, when I was in high school. And it was crazy because we got to open up for them, but like our style is like indie. It's a little more heavy. There's some funk. There's a little bit hip hop influence, but it's like indie rock, But we have some heavy songs that it's not metal by any means, but it's rowdy. And there's a part of me like, is this gonna vibe with them? But I also was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, let's play it because this is us. This is our band. If people like it, they'll like it.
At the end of the day,
right.
You got booked for your sound.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but what we did do is, because we knew we were going to open, and we knew that the crowd later who'd show up would maybe be more reggae'd out, a little more low key, we put a lot of our heavy stuff in the beginning, right? So then we could go out with like our hits, our groove and stuff at the end. So if they showed up late,
and they're showing up baked too.
Yeah, exactly. Then they're just like vibing out. They maybe missed being in a set. But if you like us, or if you caught our whole set, we got you in the beginning. We got you hyped up, and then we just ride it out, right?
Smart.
So we do that. And, and then, so it's going really well, actually. Like, it's going really well. We got the energy up, and we did the song Paper Cut, which we haven't put out yet. It's going to come out pretty soon. And it's probably one of our most hyped songs. But we've been building it up with these other ones that are real high energy. I'm jumping on stage. I'm yelling, and people are starting to jump around. There is this dude in the crowd who's too drunk, and he's with his girlfriend. And it's funny because I actually had this on camera. I set up my Blackmagic camera in there just to get like footage of our set, and I hooked it into the soundman's audio, so I get like line-in audio, high quality, helps us get booked more. But luckily that was in the back of the room, so you get the whole crowd. And so I have this on camera. This dude's, he's like kissing his girlfriend. And then during that song Paper Cut, he's like, all right, fuck it. And he like pushes someone. And he's like, goes back, kisses his girlfriend. And then he pushes someone else. And you could just see like he's getting hyped up, where like you could see him progressively get crazier and crazier. And he ends up, he keeps trying to push people in mosh pit. He's just drunk as fuck. And he pushes this girl. And then the dudes are like, dude, that's my sister. Like, don't fuck with her, you know? And he's just like drunk, whatever. Well, then like that song finishes. He ends up like pushing one more time. Boom. Sock. The dude tries to fight. Like he throws a punch. He gets missed. He gets dropped. He gets kicked. And I'm like up there thinking people are going, I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, stop the music. I was like, security, there's like a fight, you know? And like, we're all just like, what the fuck? And this dude got rowdy and they ended up kicking him out. And it was funny, like we had to get everyone like, all right, chill out. And like the crowd was never quite the same after that. They're a little traumatized.
What's a hard thing to recover from, especially in Albuquerque? I feel like it's a hard thing to come back.
It was downtown. Yeah, exactly. Because everyone's tripped out now. It's downtown Albuquerque.
Yep.
Funnier story was with that guy who went outside, welt on his head, was talking shit that he got beat up. So he calls the cops, even though he started the fight. Cops come, he starts talking shit to the cops. They arrest him, but because of this thing, they send him to the hospital in an ambulance. So the dude got a $4,000 bill from the ambulance and went to jail.
You know what? Who said that being 50th in education is a bad thing? All right, that means there are consequences, people.
Yeah, it was quite entertaining, but it was like I didn't really realize it until now, actually saying it that way. But like we did start out heavy to like kind of get it out of the way, but also be like, here, we're gonna get you guys hyped up.
But that's not your fault.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault.
Yeah.
But it was a result of like when I said alchemy, like this dude was like too drunk where he's like, I can't handle this, too high energy. Like now I gotta start fucking shit up. You know what I mean? Whereas like maybe if we were way more vibed out or blended out, he never, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna blame it on that. Cause actually it was, I think of it, oh, that was our first crowd fight. Like we made progress, dude. Like
that means your music can reach people.
Yeah, exactly. They feel it in their emotions.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that dude's an issue waiting to happen. If it wouldn't have happened at the show, he would have walked down and, well, I mean, at the time he could have walked down to knockouts, or he would have gone down like distillery, and he would have caused an issue there.
Totally.
That's where the issues wash out anyway.
Yeah,
you know, that's just where it fucking happens. And I don't know. I mean,
I won't blame it on that, but I will say is like we do think about that.
Yeah, acknowledge the influence, but I mean, don't take the credit for that. Like the responsibility, of it. You know what I mean? Because like
I'll take that credit.
Yeah, take the credit. Yeah, take the credit, not the responsibility. Because fuck that guy.
No, totally.
Yeah.
But it was like we do think about that though,
Yeah.
like how to set up the set when we do something way more low key. Like we've done that for family, friends, like kind of favors, like, oh, you need music at this fan. All right, like we're not, you know, we'll do some more cover songs.
Yeah.
I won't be screaming when I need to, you know, like you do adjust to your audience. If I was super big though, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. We're like, you get what you get. This is our brand. Like I don't have that, like,
right.
You know, and I would love to stick to it, but I'm also like, if I was through and through with the brand, I'm like, I'm just trying to do this, have fun, you know, enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think most like true artists, because music heads can be very like, I will never compromise. You know what I mean? Like those true heads. Yeah. So I think there's a different approach. I'm a little more flexible, but yeah, you definitely get influenced by who am I going to be. Like stay true to yourself, but yeah, like read the room. Yeah. Read the room. I did that for any performer. Read the fucking room real quick. Cause like you said, looking around when you did Z Lounge, like you looked around to see what you kind of work with. Yeah. And you start there, and then you're like, okay, now I kind of go into this as a vibe. I built a little rapport. Yeah. Like I do that at work. Like if I go into a meeting or a pitch, and I'm like, all right, who's, you know?
Are you more of, when you go to a pitch meeting like that, or you go to a place where you're going to end up having to exercise your voice? Are you the type of person that you're confident enough to where you can just start speaking right off the bat? You're very confident. You know what you're going to talk about already, or do you kind of just walk in and you observe first? Okay, what's going on? How are people responding? The first couple of people that are speaking, where do you find yourself in that?
So I definitely like go in knowing, you know, planning out what I'm going to say. And I think by doing performances over the years, I'm not scared to speak in front of people. Yeah. So I like have that in the back pocket. But yeah, 100%, like you want to go in and you want to relate. Like people say business isn't personal, but business is super personal. Like you want to do, I get it when it comes down to like, oh, well, that's just, you know, money. But like people do business with people who they like,
yes.
Right? And so
that's what networking is, the number one skill in 99% of life.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so when I get in the room, it is like a read the room of like take my time, because no one wants to just, buy me dinner first. I'll just, like in terms of, I don't need to just get right into the pitch. Like, let's relay, let's kind of have some small talk. Like, let me see where I can relate with people.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, what have you been up to? Oh, like you just visited Durango. Like, oh, like I love, and I've heard of that thing with threading. It's like, oh, I love Durango because I love the snowboarding. I love the small town vibe. Cannabis is legal up there or whatever. Like you find things with people, and that kind of opens them up already, at least enough to get to be heard. So I'll always kind of get the vibes going. And then I have some information that I could be like, oh, maybe this thing actually aligns with that thing they said. I'd be like, oh, like you said earlier, this is this point.
You
like
provide value.
Oh, provide value. And then they feel like they're involved. Because I'm like, just like you said earlier, like it's not even manipulation because it's just truth where I'm like, when I make
there
those
is some
connections.
psychology to it though, but it's positive psychology.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I mean, like guys definitely have this in social settings, but there's a version of it in business. Like, are you cool?
Right.
Can I hang out with you?
Totally.
Like, I forget, I think it was Christopher Titus that said in one of his stand-up bits where it's like, if you're like, it was like a Thanksgiving dinner and your sister brings home a boyfriend and he's wearing Crocs and like, what's up with the fucking shoes? If he says something like, what, you don't like Crocs? Or he's kind of like defensive about it, it's like, okay, I can't fuck with you. We can't hang out. If and when the drinks start flowing later, I'm not going to hang out with you. Or and he goes, yeah, what's up with those shoes? I don't know. What's up with that shirt? And it's like, oh, okay. We can kind of fuck around.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
There's a little push and shove. There's a little
exactly.
ball breaking here. All right, nice. And being able to translate that type of thing into the business where I think is invaluable. So just your ability to connect and your ability to like display the best parts of you to people, like why you provide value, why are you in a meeting? Why am I in a meeting with you? Like, why are we all here?
Right.
That type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And people have like different ways of connecting with the same thing. It's like when I said earlier, like my brand is like, I take my work seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. And that's true. And it's the same thing as like, do I trust you to take my money and make something happen out of it? But also like, do I like you as a person?
Exactly.
By me taking it seriously, you trust me to do a good job, but also you're like, I can talk to him and fuck around and not feel like I'm talking to a brick wall.
No, exactly. Because you can't, even business can't be all business.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, most of the time, I'm sure business is done on the golf course. Business is done at the bar. Like 100%, man. Like you said, networking, like you could go to a conference and instead of attending the conference, you just go drink with the other people that are going to that. Like you'll probably get more business done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's one of the best scenes in The Office is it's Michael, Jan, and then this other sales rep who's played by Tim Meadows, and they're at the Chili's. And the baby back ribs, and Jan's trying to get the pitch in, and Michael's like, "Shut the fuck up!" And they're just talking about margaritas and baby back ribs and chicken fingers and whatever. And when he's got a little bit of drink in him, he's like, "Hey, I get that this is happening. How this is why it's good, and this is why we can help." Right. It's like, okay, I guess we can. And it's like, yeah, salesmanship.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah, 100%. And like, there are people way better than me at it. I'm not traditionally trained in sales, but I've been able to close deals, big deals, and go into the room. And it is like a level of confidence. And like, I also think is always making sure that you're creating a win-win solution idea, especially where it's like, hey, we're both benefiting from this. No one's getting the shitty end of the deal. Like, so I know bigger business men would be like, oh no, like he's cold-hearted. Like you got to be a killer and all that shit. And fair enough. That's just on my ethos in life, but I've had a way better time getting along and being like...
I'm a more having a good time kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not trying to make everyone hate me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, it is that, like, being cool and having fun and finding relatability. But, and like, the same thing of, like, you should try to attract the people that you want to work with. Because, like, yeah, I could convince someone that's, like, boring as hell to do business, but now I got to do business with that person. You know what I mean? Sometimes I go through things and I'm like, oh, man. I don't even think we should go for that. Like, yeah, there's some money on the table, but...
Right. What does a long-term look like? So with Santa Fe Brewing, this is something I'm interested in. So standing out in that market.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have New Mexico relatability due to the name. The beer's good. But how do you guys... I feel like it's easy to maintain customers with an alcohol brand.
Yeah.
The people like I'm a
quality.
Like, I'm a whiskey person. I'm a tequila person. I'm a vodka person. And of that, I really like blah, 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 blah. Right. And there's even like for a while, my TikTok was getting a lot of like whiskey pages. So I was like, this is your daily drinker. And this is your special occasion. This is your anniversary or your like yearly sip or whatever. Right. and people like get so deep into that they have like their brands they always stick to for My point in asking this is like, so how the maintaining I feel like is the easier part of it. I could be wrong, but it could be the easier part of it. How do you guys reach new markets? How do you guys reach new people here in New Mexico? Because there's a lot. We have a lot of great beer here. We have fucking amazing beer here. But it's like, how do you stand out amongst brands? And it's not to talk down, but like amongst brands like Marble or Ex Novo or I have another one in my head, but I fucking forgot. But how do you stand out amongst the brands?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, it wasn't like I got there it's been 4.5 years now. It's a 35-year-old brewery,
right?
Double the size of the next biggest. We've grown like crazy in the last 5 years. So
You've been there for 4 of them, so
I'll take some of them, right? But I mean, that growth started before I got there, and it was kind of at the pinnacle of the craft brewing industry. Like,
meaning
7 years ago, everyone wanted to go to a brewery. There wasn't a million of them yet. People were really educated. It was like going, like anyone, you could just put out an IPA and it would sell, basically, like 7 to 10 years ago. And so like there was already growth happening there. Now it's a commoditized market. Actually, like craft, with the rise of seltzers, people are drinking liquor more. People are also much more health conscious, so they're not drinking as much. Like if you look at national trends, craft brewing is actually like on a slight decline, and it may not get better.
Interesting.
And also younger people are consuming less alcohol.
I was gonna say I've noticed that non-alcoholic versions of alcoholic beverages, like a big one that went crazy was White Claw with their non-alcoholic seltzer, and then
that one's crazy because that's just water.
Yeah, sparkling water.
Yeah, like they sell that everywhere. Like that one's crazy to me. I actually did a skit on the brewery page. You should check it out. I'm like the marketing guy pitching an idea, and I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, instead of a beer, let's do a seltzer, right? I was like, but non-alcoholic is really in right now, so let's pull the alcohol out. I was like, and also good for you stuff is a huge thing, so let's pull out all the artificial flavoring. And RTDs are good, so let's pull out the carbonation too. And then like they're just like, are you pitching water? I was like, what is that? Who made that? They're like, God? They're like, I don't fucking know. So like we did a whole bit on that, but yeah, like NA is growing like crazy. But to get back, it's like I think just standing out is like we have the personality, but before I got there, like the brewmaster Burr, and he's in the videos, super cool guy, put me on a lot of game. It's value, it's not like we have a good pricing model, but we have really good beer. So it's like the consumer sees value because it's like you're not charging me $20 for a 4-pack, but I am going to get good beer that's approachable. It's not like a raspberry cinnamon bun stout, which some people want that. And more power to them.
Yeah, you like what you like.
This is a beer you can drink consistently.
Yeah.
And that's what our thing is about, is like, is this a beer you want to drink? Right. And like not just one time to say you did it. And so I think having a good product, that really helps. You know what I mean? But yeah, I took like with our latest one, like NMX Standard is going to be probably our number 2 beer.
I was gonna say, I see that everywhere.
Yeah,
I see
that's
that.
good.
I see
that's
that.
Why that was my first like baby over there. Like I've helped with some branding, and like it was a big team that made that happen. I can't take any credit, but that was like my first project where I got to lead product brand development.
What made it, just in my opinion, because I'm not I like beer, but I'm not like a beer aficionado. I couldn't tell you the difference between like NMX Standard or another one that I like is from Ex Novo. It's called it's not Elevated, that's the Cumbre. It's
Mass Ascension.
Mass Ascension. Thank you, Mass Ascension. And I like it, but I can't fucking remember its name. I couldn't tell you the difference upon sipping. Upon like, oh, this has hints of what? I'm not that guy. But what stood out to me, and it's just because of my taste, just in aesthetics, like the black can.
Right.
You don't really see that in beer. It's always these like either traditional brown bottle or green bottle, rarely, right? Because I think Heineken's the only green bottle around now.
Yeah, everyone's basically canning stuff.
Yeah, it's
nowadays.
all can and brown bottle, and then it's like, if it's craft beer, it's always, which is for good reason, it's always based around the state and like state colors or state iconography or stuff like that. So to see an all blacked out beer, cause like, oh, like that's, at least that's different.
Yeah.
You still have like the New Mexico like state on it and stuff like that, but at least that's different.
Right.
So I think that helped made it stand out in the first place before I even like had it. And it's a good beer. I like it. It's not too bad at all. But like just the eye attention, like the grabbing of it was a good idea.
And I mean, that was kind of going for it was, you know, IPAs are huge in craft brewery. Like that's in brewing, like in general, it's like 7 out of 10 every craft beers is an IPA, what people are buying. Right. But the big rise with young people and also people shifting as like a good for you thing is that they're drinking lighter beer alternatives or they're drinking seltzers. People want something that they don't feel like shit after, you know? And I'm not trying to bash beer like
no,
but like if you drink like 2 or 3 IPAs, you kind of like you feel sometimes like you maybe had a loaf of bread, you know, like for some people.
Yeah.
And I love IPAs, but I have shifted in that after you've had so many, right? And so I think like where we went was, okay, let's create a lighter beer alternative. So someone who's like, I want to support something local. I want to, like, I just want to be seen with a Bud Light. I don't want to be seen with a Miller Lite. Like, I'm better than that. But like, I don't want that heavy beer. So it's like a source of pride. It's a badge of honor. And then we aligned it with like a local insight, like Land of Manana. You know what I mean? Like, it's a liquid Nirvana from the Land of Manana. This is an easy drinking beer for your easygoing lifestyle. Like, and that was the messaging. And so it speaks to every occasion. It speaks to a level of pride. And I think it turns it into something positive, but it also like the can helps a lot that it looks good.
Yeah, exactly. It was dope. One thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is we've covered comedy I love talking about comedy. I know you do too.
Yeah.
You got roast battles coming up again.
Yes.
You don't have to give all the beans away or anything like that, but I imagine it's gonna be at Rebel. Will the construction be done by then? Because I know they were redoing the piano bar, right?
This is a great question. I've heard about it, but yeah, they've given me the green light on March 23rd.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be doing it every 3 months. I think sometime in June. I got a hold in June, but yeah, March 23rd, back at Revel. I'm working on the lineup right now. I don't know the turnaround time on that. Now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get the flyer done so you could even, if you reference it, people can find it online. But in general, like just keep an eye out for the promo. It's gonna be March 23rd. It's, you know, it's a packed out show. The last one was the biggest show we've ever had.
Dude,
and I think taking the break.
That was, I couldn't even imagine how you felt because just walking in there in general. I remember me and my chick, we were like, because we got there a little bit early. And we're like, I don't know if this, like, I hope people show up. What the fuck is going on? Maybe 10 minutes later, just floods and floods. Yeah. They were New Mexico late, but floods and floods and floods of people came in. And it was packed. Like, did you guys sell out?
I mean, it turned into standing room. It turned into standing room, right? Like all the seats were taken. People had to stand over there. Like it was by far the best night, and we got paid extra. It was huge. Let me give a little tidbit. Like not this one. It was a huge event. Like so funny and like last second stuff. To have Sarah Kennedy go up there and roast battle was an honor for me because I never got to see that, and she was incredible. But something, and I'm hoping to have him back. You know, Richard Wolfson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the event before that, he did his first roast battle. And I think his other opponent backed out, and so Caleb Mulkey stepped in at the last second. And that night, Richard Wolfson went on stage. I helped him on stage, you know.
Shout out to him because he had a surgery a while back.
Yeah,
so
shout out to him, man. Yeah,
I hope he's doing okay.
I hope he said he was open to doing this next one, so I'm hoping this is my little like teaser. He's supposed to be back on this March event. I hope he's healing and recovering well. He went up there and he had a water bottle, reusable water bottle, and he goes, you know, and I'm butchering this right now, but basically talks about like, you know, Caleb, your dating life is so sad, like you never could get a girlfriend. He's like, and my wife died recently, so I'm gonna let you have some of mine. And her ashes were in the water bottle. I don't know if they're really their ashes or her ashes, but dude, it was the most, like, if anyone filmed that, I was so sad I did not get that on camera. I was just mind blown. And it was like the most insane thing. And he's like, don't worry though. Like, he's like, I know this like lid is pretty small, but your dick will still fit. And dude, just,
oh my God.
And
was I there for that?
That was the June event, dude.
Fuck. I don't know if I was there for that or not. Was it this past June?
Yeah, it was last June, yeah.
Okay, because I was not there because I was recovering from surgery. Oh my God, that's fucking, I'm imagining him deliver that. I'm also imagining Caleb
react to that because Caleb was built like Rumpelstiltskin a little bit. So just watching him, and he's got a lot of hair, big beard. Watching that's fucking.
It was like iconic. I think Caleb loved it too because it was just like everyone was just like, what? But
that's right up his alley.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
Dude, it was like the most iconic. Like I could not believe it happened, and I was like, I wish I had this on camera. So yeah, that's I'm gonna check in, but Richard Wolfson should be back March 23rd at the Roast Battles.
Ooh, that's a good thing. Okay, so this just pops in my head. Has there ever been a thought of this would be a huge selling point for like not that people you've had on don't take comedy seriously, but for comics that legitimately they know they have the skill, they're taking it seriously, that type of shit, like saying, hey. Come back for this next roast battle. We're going to be professionally filming it. And then you get to use that footage, whether it's your social media, you just want to promote yourself, whether it's like on YouTube, you want to make a compilation, or you want to do something you think you're ready for just for laughs and you want to submit something for just for laughs.
Yeah.
Like whether they're one of the roast battlers or they're one of the opening guys, that could be
that is a good idea.
You know? And then you get to promote it yourself because obviously it's your footage.
Yeah. No, and I did do one, and it was crazy because I used one event I had, filmed, and I edited some clips, and like those clips, 20,000, 30,000 views, like they were the move. I think I'm just like, I throw the whole event, and I think I sometimes just get caught up.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea to go into this next one saying, hey, this whole event's going to be filmed. You guys bring your A game. If you want, you can use the clip for whatever you want. Hopefully you do good.
Yeah, that would be a cool selling point. And you also get to bring the audience in because clips going viral on TikTok and Instagram anyway now about like tapings and shit. But now the audience gets to feel like they're a part of something even bigger. It's like, oh, I was here when this got taped. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I might have to make that happen. I think I might get you a cut of that. But yeah, live.
That could be real neat.
Yeah, live special of the roast battles. I mean, like I'm a huge fan of Kill Tony.
Yeah.
I've
been saying for so long, and I talked A-Marie and Buck's ear off about this because they actually used to hold an open mic this past summer.
Oh yeah, at
Inside Out. And that's where I did comedy for the first time. And it was kind of a Kill Tony setup. Like you signed up for it, you went up there, you did 5 minutes, and they talked to you afterwards. I think that as comedy grows in Albuquerque, people can say it's a ripoff or whatever. We need something like that.
Yeah.
I think that invites people so much because then you get to see people try to do stand-up comedy and that type of stuff. Like that's cool, but then you also get to see the interaction. You get to get the crowd audience involved, and like it's a whole event. Like there's a reason why it works so well, and there's a reason why it worked at the Comedy Store in front of 11 people and why it works now at the Mothership in front of 300. Like there's a reason why that's so versatile. I don't know how that happens.
Maybe I'll do this one is we might invite someone to do their first, because we do stand up before the roast battles. Right. Maybe I'll open up something like invite someone to do their first ever set.
Yeah.
And then the crowd, and then the judges can do commentary after. I know that's like I don't want to rip it off, but or like someone new,
Yeah, that's a real scary thing.
And open it up to some feedback. But that crowd, I mean, that's a gnarly one. I mean, I don't want to rip anything off, but I agree. Like it's always about the entertaining, like the value, and you're providing an opportunity and a platform.
Well, there's a reason why it works. Like it'd be one thing if you took because I was talking to Buck about that. Like it's not necessarily like you can't really steal a format because. Again, it's the humans that inside the format that make it different. Like because if that's the case, sitcoms throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s would have been suing each other left and right.
Yeah, exactly.
Game shows would be suing each other. You know what I mean? It's the format can be the thing. You can have like twists and turns or gimmicks or whatever, but it's the humans inside the format that's making it unique. Like it'd be one thing if you were doing this and you called it fucking Kill Evan.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, dickbag. What are you
exactly.
doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
but nothing's original.
Yeah, a
like,
slightly
really
pudgy guy as your producer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, if you just take the format of it, make it your own, and it's your own people doing it, people can say what the fuck they want. But if it's successful at any type of level, or if it's just a good time, that'll work. One last question about the roast battles. Have you ever had the opportunity or ever thought about like getting the chance to have like a surprise like local celebrity be on the panel? Like, I know you had Johnny James.
Yeah.
Right? But
I'd love to up the game though.
But that would be fucking hilarious if you were like Ron Bell's in the building and his little midget ass walks out,
dude,
and sits on the table.
Dude, I love Ron Bell to be on the show.
That would be or like who's the dude that did the investigative stuff?
Larry Barker.
Oh, that would be fucking hilarious. Or even like just to I mean, he's getting out of office soon and People love him, people hate him. I think it'd be hilarious if fucking Tim Keller showed up and you watched the mayor drop an F-bomb.
Right. Well, there was even a point where I was actually supposed to be on it. We were going to do roast. There's like a promoter, and never happened, but it was like roast Albuquerque, and we were supposed to get to roast the mayor. And so he was in, and then he wasn't,
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe if he's not the one taking the arrows, but
no, agreed. I think the fact that he ever even agreed to that means that he's down in some capacity.
There's something there.
I like that a lot, like a local, especially someone who's not a comedian. Like we step out those bounds.
Yeah, those are the interesting parts about Kill Tony, is like
Dr. Phil.
Well, that's just fucking phenomenal. That's the
We'll be right back.
Yeah, Adam Ray's Dr. Phil is just something fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
But then like, it didn't go very well. But the gimmick of like they had Ric Flair on one time.
Oh, that was weird.
Like, that was a weird one, right? But this the gimmick.
He didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
He was like, "Don't be mean."
Yeah. I'll never make fun of someone donating their time.
Yeah.
But like just something like that, or like if you get somebody big from like out of the music and that people know, or just that, it would just be a cool thing. And I think, just kind of off the top of my head, if you end up doing that for like the next one or the one afterwards, you have like some kind of local celebrity that people can gravitate to, or that they know the name of it, then they're like, oh, they're having local guests on the panel, but they didn't put it on the flyer. Who's going to be there next?
Right.
And now you could use that
It's
as
a secret surprise.
as marketing for the next one. It was like, okay, we had person A, guess who person B is going to be? And then it have to be good reveals, obviously. But the fact that you can have that like enticing variable to the show, that could really like...
You gave me a lot of stuff right now that I'm probably like, I'm not going to lie. Like, don't be surprised if I incorporate all of this.
It could work. Like, I mean, and I'll be honest, like there were a couple of things where Johnny James kind of bombed.
Oh, he totally did. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that happens. And I think he knows that. Like he can't be like...
No, he's not mad. I mean, he's cool with it. Yeah.
Not mad, but ignorant to the fact, right? But the fact that he went and did it anyway, and the fact that like, it's an opportunity for him to step outside of his realm a little bit, for him to try something new, and then at the same time, he can also see how much reach he has, like how much effect did he have on the ticket sales, how much effect did he have on the word of mouth and the traffic and stuff like that.
Right.
And then you guys got your experience into like, okay, this is what it looks like when we don't have a traditional comedian on. This is what it looks like when we just have like I fucking hate the word influencer, but like a content creator,
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
a local creator on. That's what that looks like with this guy. I think he just got on like the Albuquerque magazine front too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what that looks like. Okay, sick. Like, could you fucking imagine the pop you would get? Like, let's say you start doing local guests.
Yeah.
This person. Say like next summer. Could you imagine it's a booked out room or 90% filled? Okay, introducing the panel, fucking Zach Abeda, Sarah Kennedy, and our special guest tonight, John Jones.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Like, how fucking crazy with that? Because again, with somebody like that, it's somebody massive, but it's the mixture of them being big, but they love their local. He loves Albuquerque for all that guy's faults, and he has a lot. But for all of his negatives,
I love that. I have a really cool story with John Jones that I
would love to hear it. But like, he still loves Albuquerque, and I feel like that's something that he wouldn't charge his full rate for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's down the... I just hop on the freeway from Jackson's and I go. Yeah. I think he lives somewhere like in High Desert or some shit. But like, I can hop on the freeway from High Desert and fucking go, drop into Revel for a couple hours, we'll have a couple of drinks, and we'll have a good time.
Right.
Like, could you imagine how... Or like Holly Holmes.
Right.
That would be fucking bananas.
Yep.
And then like very well from marketing, just the word of mouth.
Oh,
how
yeah.
that spreads. Who do these people know?
And that experience to be like, they're not even comics, but you're getting to like see them like
As
off
people.
as people.
Yeah.
100%, dude. And like Sean O'Malley and Kill Tony, like huge fans.
Yeah.
I just get to see him nerding out, you know what I mean? And knowing it all. Yeah, no, I love that idea. I'm going to try it. We're going to see if I can make something happen for March. But
that could be cool. You add the variable to it. And again, I know this from personal experience, when you get people, obviously I'm at a very lower level, but when you get people that people can gravitate to on the product, on whatever you're making, when you get people that can gravitate to that, it's more than just a comedy show now. And I was like, how is a fighter, how is a politician, how's this weird kooky lawyer gonna react? Because Ron Bell, people don't know this outside of New Mexico, but Ron Bell is the inspiration for Saul Goodman.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
so having that guy on, like, that's kind of crazy. And then all the weird stories that go around about Ron Bell, like him being a cokehead and him being fucking, he'd always spend his time at TDs and shit and all this time. It's like, it's like having this weird, because he's like, I met him once, because I worked at Pelicans on the east side, and he had come in like late at night, late as fuck. He's a tiny fucking, he's like 5'4", 5'5" around there. So having that variable.
Yeah, especially if we played off the like fight, like the boxing gloves or something at the event. Like we have someone else dress up as Ron Bell and it comes out while he's on stage.
So before we get out of here, your story about John Jones.
Oh yeah, and I don't. This is my cool guy story. This makes it a little less cool by me sharing it, but he might be down to actually do the show because of this. I was hungover as fuck flying back from Denver, and I don't know why, like I'm not a soda person, but I was like just so hungover I wanted a Dr. Pepper, right? I fall asleep on the plane, wake up, they've already served it. I'm like flying, I'm like, oh fuck. For some reason I wanted this. So I go to one of those little, little stalls in the airport to go get a Dr. Pepper, maybe a snack or some shit. And I go in the line and it's John Jones right in front of me. And his card keeps getting declined. I'm putting him on blast right now. His fucking card keeps getting declined, dude. And he tries another one, gets declined. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then someone else comes up and they're like, what, John Jones? Like, can I take a picture? He's like, yeah, of course. He takes a picture. So while they're doing that, I go and I give him I don't know, I'll pay for his shit. So I buy all his food and my Dr. Pepper. And I'm like, I'm not going to even say anything. I'm like, got it. I'm about to go. He's like, what? He's like, wait. He's like, you paid? Did you pay for that? And I was like, yeah, dude, no problem. And he's like, I'll give you a back rub for your feet. Like he's joking with me. He's ripping. Like, thanks, dude. He like daps me up. And I just like, I'm like, he's like, should I get you back? I was like, nah, dude. And I just like walk away like it was like my hero origin story. Like, and me airing it out online doesn't make it as cool, but it's funny because like the moment I was like, dude, I just fucking paid for John Jones.
You gave him a real human interaction he probably hasn't had in a long time.
Dude, yeah, he was super like, what? Like, I didn't ask for a picture. None of that shit, I was like
that's a very human moment.
Yeah.
And
now I just aired it out.
Well, no, it's cool that he responded well to it, right? Because he has the public persona of being an angry guy.
Oh, dude, he's a super nice guy.
Right, because he just has that, or not public persona, he has the
just some bad PR, tough spotlight on him.
Some bad PR. And so the fact that that's how he reacts in a real moment, like that's something people do want to hear. I can talk about the authenticity, the relatability of it, but again, like, because how long ago was this?
July.
Okay, so extremely recently.
Super recently.
When is
he was like heavy? He's big for his heavyweight fight. Like he was like it was a UFC thing in Vegas. Like I'm sure he's flying to Vegas because it was like this big. Like he wasn't fighting, but it was some sort of event there.
But the fact that it was so recent, the only reason that guy's card declined is because his bank was doing something weird. Thought he was doing something weird, so it's a security thing.
Oh, he has money, yeah.
Yeah, his shit doesn't decline. Like that's just not
guaranteed,
a thing.
yeah.
So for him to be able to have that moment, I mean, that's cool. I don't know. I think
I thought so.
Cool.
I thought of that. I was like, the fact that I was like, and even in the moment that I was like, I didn't waste a second, dude. Like he went over to take a photo. I was like, I'm gonna pay for this dude's shit, like just to be like, yeah, and it really wasn't for any sort of end game. It was just like
it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, like I'll do that for people.
But then also, when do you get the opportunity to do that for somebody of that stature?
Yeah, dude, seriously. And I'll leave you with one more. That this is another paying altercation. This was actually at in Albuquerque, and I was going to buy something. I was in a rush, and this homeless dude goes to buy beer, and he's at the counter, and he fucking. And it's all this change all over the fucking counter to buy this beer, right? And he's like messing with it, and the guy's like letting him do it for a second, and then you see like I'm kind of like fuck, because I'm in a rush, and like I wasn't trying to be a dick, but I'm just like fuck, dude, this is gonna take a long. Like this dude's like,
right? Yeah, we've all been there. We've all fucking
dude, and the guy's like, the cashier's like, hey, dude, like you can't do that right here. And the guy is like, what do you mean? It's a counter. Dude, I was dying. I was like, I'll buy that dude's beer right now. I was like, I gotta go. I was like, keep your change, dude. I bought his beer, paid for my shit. It's like, I got the fuck out of there. It was a win-win. I was like, dude, yes, dude. Like, It was the coolest shit. It's a counter. I'm counting shit.
That
like,
is-
dude. Like the guy had nothing. He's like, oh, you're right. Like, oh, it's,
That's fucking hilarious.
yeah. So those are my two best paying for people stories. Two total opposites.
That's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, like TV show type shit.
It's a counter. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So March 23rd.
March 23rd.
Cool. Revel roast battles.
Yes, sir.
Sick.
Yeah, pre-sales will probably be available, but yeah, we might have, dude, no, thank you. I got a bunch of good ideas for this event. Like there might be a secret guest. There might be, I don't even know, maybe someone trying a comedy for the first time and we'll give them an opportunity and we'll give them some feedback. I don't know, man. I'm going to do something different because
Could be cool.
you helped me out. So thank you.
Whatever I can do to serve, man.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I'm
thanks
here
for having
for.
me on the show, man. It was
Dude,
a
thank
lot
you
of
for
fun.
coming by. This is sick. I mentioned earlier that there were some interviews that I had in like the back of my head. Like, oh, I want to do this like years ago. You were one of them. I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah.
I would have fucking botched it. So I'm very glad that we ran into each other and met at a One-Liner.
Yeah.
Thank you
Sick
very
show.
much.
That was a sick show.
It was. That was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find like you on social media, the roast battle stuff?
Yeah, so I'm just on, we'll just go Instagram, just Evan Wronz, EVANWRONZ. I post some comedy skits, mostly just some bullshit from my life. But then you can find the roast battles, ABQ roast battles on Instagram. We update the events there, and then you can just kind of tap in and
Sick.
see what happens.
And then your music as well.
Yeah, Rip Williams on Instagram's Rip Williams TV. We're like indie rock, just releasing some music. We did some comedy skits here and there too. I used like trying to build out another brand there. But yeah, check out our music, man. Thanks for the plug.
Fuck you, dude. Thank you for coming and spending some time, man. This has been sick. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.